The pride we feel for all of you is extended as well to our graduation speaker, Major Jonathan Freeman. A 1993 graduate of Maharishi School and the Science Award winner that year, by the way. Major Freeman is the son of Mark and Dr. Maharisi Freeman. Mark's an international businessman and author, and for many years a huge contributor to the work of our board of directors. Maharisi is a gifted scholar with her PhD in Maharishi Vedic Science, and Jonathan's two sisters, Eliana and Leela, are also graduates of Maharishi School. Any chapter of Major Freeman's life would be worthy of a graduation speech. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science and communication at the University of Michigan. From there, he went on to add a master's degree in international relations from Harvard University's Extension School. He also earned an MBA with honors from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and he's currently completing his PhD in international relations at the London School of Economics. In between, Major Freeman became a decorated combat veteran and has served as a political appointee in both the Department of Defense and the U.S. Agency for International Development. In 2007, Major Freeman was the Deputy Director of Veterans and Military Families Outreach on the Obama for America campaign. Immediately following the campaign, he joined the Presidential Inaugural Committee as the Director of the Office of Veterans and Military Affairs. He served as a Deputy White House Liaison for the Department of Defense, where he was responsible for placing political appointees in the Pentagon. As a U.S. Army officer, Major Freeman served in Taji, Iraq, where he helped plan and execute operations north of Baghdad. Upon redeployment back to the United States, he served as Assistant Operations Officer, distributing 660 personnel across the Army. Then he deployed a second time to Iraq, assisting a border police battalion in Tal Afar, and then an Iraqi Army unit in Samara. In 2011, Major Freeman volunteered to deploy to Afghanistan. He served at the headquarters of the commander of the Combined Joint Interagency Task Force 435. Major Freeman's military awards include the Bronze Star with an Oak Leaf Cluster, the Army Commendation Medal, the Joint Service Achievement Medal, and the Combat Action Badge. He currently serves in the Maryland Army National Guard. Through all of those studies and all of those missions, Major Freeman maintained his practice of the Transcendental Meditation technique, and in 2013 completed the Transcendental Meditation Teacher Training course. Major Freeman is also a fellow at the Truman National Security Project, an organization that unites next-generation veteran political and policy leaders to develop and advance strong, smart, principled solutions to the global challenges that America faces. He's also a principal at Ulysses Advisors, a talent search firm, and an international consultant specializing in operations, strategy, and political intelligence. We are deeply honored that he could take time from his studies and his service to our nation to be with us today. Please welcome our graduation speaker, Major Jonathan Freeman.
Well, in case anybody was curious, combat was easier and far less pressure than this moment. So good afternoon to you all. To the board, Dad, Dr. Hagelin, and Dr. Bell, I want to thank you for this invitation. On behalf of the students who have come before me and those who have followed, thank you for your wisdom, your guidance, and your leadership. I will endeavor to let you down only a little. To the friends and family who are unfamiliar with our town, our community, and our school, I can guarantee you one thing. These young men and women, whom you have loved and found precious, so have we. To the parents, I can only imagine that this is a bittersweet moment. Congratulations to you as well. To the school staff and volunteers, thank you for giving your time. And to the faculty, I want to thank you for the dedication passion and energy I know you have given to these young graduates. What they may not realize now is that the lessons you have imparted will stay with them long after this day. Even now, 22 years after my own graduation, when I'm editing my writing, I can still hear Paula Fairchild's voice saying too many words. When I see a science article, I think of Dr. Boehm's class. And when I encounter a tough math problem, I can think of Mrs. Iyer saying, "Wrong, do it again." And speaking of Mrs. Iyer, long after I graduated, I was with her and a few others, and we got to discussing my performance as a student. Mrs. Iyer, never one to avoid, well, anything, said, and I'll never forget this until the day I die, "Jonathan may not have been the smartest student I ever had, but he certainly was the most persistent." After a few moments of initial resistance, I thought, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm very excited to be back here, back in my hometown and in my alma mater, with the opportunity to impart some of life's lessons to this year's graduates. In my imagination, I've given this speech over a dozen times. It was brilliant, and you all loved it. Sadly, I have no idea what that imaginary me said. But the nice thing about being involved in politics is that you meet a number of speechwriters. I had two geniuses helping me out, and I look forward to telling them that any part you didn't like was entirely their fault. And now to you, to the class of 2015 and soon-to-be graduates of the Maharishi School of the Age of Enlightenment. If you are looking for the graduation speech filled with rainbows and lollipops, you picked the wrong speaker and I wrote the wrong speech. You've been told forever that you are special, and I know this because I was you 22 years ago. But the truth is that you're coming into this world with an incredible amount of privilege. You've had a great education. You've had incredible experiences. And you have been given a technology and a knowledge to go within, to rise above the challenges and sometimes the horrors of this world by transcending into silence. A privilege few can lay claim. The world is going to hammer you again and again and again. But should you choose to embrace them, the tools to balance the world within, you have the tools to balance the world outside with the world within. So let me begin with the world out there. When I was serving overseas, first in Iraq and later Afghanistan, I had the privilege and honor of doing so alongside some of the most courageous, intelligent, and dedicated young men and women, many of them not much older than you. They were from cities like New York and Boston and Chicago. They were from the Bible Belt. They were from the northern woodlands of the Northwest, and they were from rural Iowa. They committed themselves to a cause because they believed that their sacrifice, that their country and communities were worthy of their sacrifice. As you prepare for college and armed with intellect and energy, I hope you will ask yourselves, what is worthy of your sacrifice, and what form will it take? Now, it is not without a little bit of irony that I tell you, while wearing this uniform, to rebel. Fight the man. No, don't become part of an armed resistance, which by law I'm supposed to tell you not to do. But my charge to you is to challenge authority respectfully. Your elders may have had many reasons for deciding, well, anything. But circumstances may have changed. The reasons may not have been very good to begin with. It is your duty, as a part of being young, to challenge authority. Ask why, and then again, ask why not. This is how change happens. Question the reality you've been given, imagine a better one, and work together to make it happen. And regarding those elders, your parents are nowhere near as wrong as you thought they were. There's the period where you think your parents know everything, and then there's one where you think they know nothing. And then gradually, you begin to realize that they may have a bit of a clue. Don't resist that realization. It's a natural process of growing up. And while our parents love us, We never want to feel foolish in front of them, making it all the more important to have those people who will love you unconditionally without being judgmental. For me, that person was Barry Pitt, or Uncle Barry for me. Uncle Barry sadly passed away a few years ago. But when I was casting about and trying to find my way in the world, he was always there to lend an ear. He had a magical way of listening and occasionally calling me crazy, but never making me feel foolish. Look for your Uncle Barry. If you're truly lucky, you'll find one half as good as mine. Uncle Barry was always good about advocating balance, so it is with that in mind that I advise you to learn when to embrace and when to resist temptation. You're coming of age at a time when everything is available all the time. You will be, whether it is alcohol, drugs, video games, the internet, television, Netflix, YouTube, a book, whatever. The world will seek to distract you with an unbounded number of temptations, and you will need to figure out when to avoid them and when to embrace them. Be careful, but have fun. Balance is the goal you want to strive for. And now the world within. Stay regular with your meditation. You've heard it from everyone. In the Army, a friend of mine meditated enough during basic training to earn the nickname Yoda. I once meditated in the middle of a combat operation on a tank in the middle of Iraq, finding peace within myself, away from a world characterized by violence, fear, and at times senseless loss. You alone have the choice of whether the waves of stress you will encounter will smash you on the rocks or wash over you as if it was nothing. This will be based on the amount you allow yourself to transcend within. Both Yoda and I can attest you can meditate anywhere you have a thought. And it was in that silence that we had the strength to continue in tough circumstances. I know you are all headed to the four winds. Each of your schools is going to offer any number of bizarre classes. Take them. Expand your boundaries in creative and unexpected ways. I'm not saying major in basket weaving or ultimate frisbee, although if that's where you're finding your happiness, enjoy that conversation with your parents. But my point is that the classes that I took as an afterthought were often the ones that I gained the most out of. I had always assumed I would major in business, and it was odd that I ended up in a film appreciation class, the fruits of which I enjoy in every movie I watch, and I watch a lot of movies. So if you love business, take an art history class and learn to appreciate the beauty of the ages. If you love art, take an accounting class so you know how to balance your checkbook. And if you are like me and you love social science, take everything, because everything has an impact. And whatever you do, don't become a cynic. You're about to go off to college, and you'll meet plenty of people who are bitter and who sneer at the end of Disney movies, who probably wear a beret and smoke, who generally give the impression that they know everything. They will say that they are realists, and they will think that they have everything figured out. But the real truth is that they've figured out nothing. It's the easiest thing in the world to become a cynic or a realist. You barely have to open up a web page to see some headline crying out about the worst thing ever. Ultimately, to me, being cynical just seems intellectually lazy. So my challenge to you, as you make your way in the world, is that through all the death and destruction and hatred that you will see every day, look for the positive, look for the joy, look for the bliss, look for the enchantment in the world. At the very least, you'll be a far happier person for trying. And learn how you work best. This is a lifelong quest, and one that I still struggle with every day. When I last saw you, I had handed in 2 chapters of what will hopefully be a successful doctoral dissertation. I had had a wonderful plan about how it should be written, and none of that actually happened. So my tip for you now is don't focus as much on what you are learning, as much as seeking to understand how you best learn and work most effectively. These are the skills that will carry you far past your college years. And as I mentioned, it's still an area I have a tough time with, which is possibly why I got a D in a class titled Learning to Learn. There's an old saying in the Army, no plan lasts the first shot. In one way, I'm a perfect embodiment of this idea. If you had told me at my graduation in 1993 that today I would be in an Army uniform, having had 3 combat tours, and in the middle of getting a doctorate, I would have told you you needed to have your head examined. But it has been precisely those unexpected twists and turns in life that have been the most rewarding, and I hope will be the most rewarding for you too. And when it comes to finding fulfillment, my final bit of advice to you today is to define that fulfillment as both the quality and quantity of love in your life. In all my journeys, through war zones and European capitals, through villages racked by poverty and to suburbs of wealth and privilege, the one truth I have found time and time again is that love is the most powerful force in the world. It is the ultimate act of generosity. And a perfect embodiment of this was Terry Kavanaugh. And I know our thoughts and our prayers are with Mrs. Kavanaugh and their entire family at this time. I can't think of a more generous soul than Mrs. Kavanaugh, and it was Terry who constantly supported her out of love. And love will sustain you through challenging times, and it is with love that this community sends you out into the world. Make it a priority to love yourself and to have love in your life. Even when you're hurt, or dealing with a crappy job, or an awful roommate, it's in these moments that it's the love that you experience and the love you hold ready for others to experience that will allow you to persevere. Family, friends, a partner, a passion for doing something, my really cute niece. All of these are loves you should constantly be looking for, embrace, and keep in your life. In closing, I will return to the young soldiers, your age. I had the privilege of leading in numerous combat missions. They performed these countless duties day in and day out in an unforgiving environment where there was little reward for getting it right and no room for getting it wrong. They made sacrifices of their families, their mental health, their limbs, and in sadly, all too many cases, their lives. They were the best, not because they raised their hands and said, "Take me, I volunteer." When everything went wrong, and it did, they knew that they could count on the person to their left and the person to their right. They were the best because they always sought to be worthy of that trust. This is character, and this is who you decide to be in the coldness of the night. It is on behalf of the alumni that came before you that I ask you always to act with character and worthiness. Be involved in something. Be passionate about something. Challenge yourself, challenge this nation, challenge this world to be better and to do better. Godspeed to you all, and congratulations. May God bless your journey ahead, and may God bless the United States of America.
Major Freeman, thank you for your service to this school and to this nation. Congratulations on somehow achieving the balance that you mentioned in the extraordinary extremes of your life. And please reassure your colleagues that you did indeed hit it out of the park here today.